Greetings everyone. Welcome to the second video in this series, Women Who Inspire. In today's video, we are going to talk about Amelia Earhart. My name is Debshurya Chaudhary. Below is the link to a Facebook group that I've created. Please feel free to send me a request if you wish to join. Who was Amelia Earhart, you ask? Well, she was a pilot and still is undoubtedly one of the biggest names in the aviation industry. I really don't think I need to say anything here because this is the most widely recognized flag in the world. Amelia Earhart was born on the 24th of July 1897 in Atchison, Kansas. Growing up, she got involved in all sorts of adventures. She hunted for rats, climbed trees, played basketball, and even took an auto repair course. In 1916, Amelia graduated from Chicago's Hyde Park High School. In 1917, while visiting her sister in Toronto, she saw wounded soldiers returning from World War I and decided to volunteer as a nurse's aide for the Red Cross. It was here, while working as a nurse's aide, that she developed a strong admiration for aviators. She spent much of her free time watching the Royal Flying Corps practicing at a nearby airfield. If only I could go back a century and do the same. In the picture on the right, you can see a Bristol F-2 fighter of the Royal Flying Corps. The Royal Flying Corps was the air arm of the British Army. On the left are the airmen of the 54th Squadron Royal Flying Corps in 1917. In 1920, Amelia left her pre-med program at Columbia University on the insistence of her parents because they wanted her to live with them in California. Parents, huh? It was there that she first went on an airplane ride that transformed her life. This was only a 10 minutes ride, but it was an experience that prompted her to take flying lessons. She immersed herself in learning to fly, and in 1921 she bought her first second-hand plane, a Kinner Airster biplane painted bright yellow. She named this plane the Canary. On 22nd October 1922, Amelia flew her Kinner Airster to an altitude of 14,000 feet, setting a world altitude record for female pilots. Approximately 7 months later, on May 15, 1923, Amelia became the 16th woman in the US to be issued a pilot's license by the world governing body for aeronautics. On the left, you can see flight instructor Netta Snook with her student Amelia Earhart at Kinner Field, Los Angeles in 1921. On the right, you can see Amelia Earhart with her first plane, a Kinner Airster open cockpit biplane, photographed in 1921. Charles Lindbergh in May 1927 became the first man to fly non-stop solo across the Atlantic from New York to Paris. It was after this flight that interest grew for having a woman fly across the Atlantic, and it was in April 1928 that Amelia was selected for the flight. On 17 June 1928, Amelia departed Trepassey, Newfoundland, Canada as a passenger aboard a Fokker Friendship with mechanic Louis Gordon and pilot Wilma Stulz, and approximately 20 hours and 40 minutes later, they touched down at Bury Point, Wales, United Kingdom. Interestingly, it was Southampton, England that was their intended destination, but they landed at Buryport, Wales, some 134 miles away. Although Earhart compared her role as a passenger to a sack of potatoes, after landing at Wales, Amelia Earhart became an international celebrity. After she came back, she wrote a book about aviation and her transatlantic experience in 20 hours and 40 minutes. Putnam, who was Amelia's collaborator and publisher, heavily promoted her through book and lecture tours across the United States. In the picture on the right, you can see Amelia Earhart with Wilma Stulz and Louis Gordon. This photograph was taken in New York in July 1928. This is the photo when the Fokker Friendship crew landed in Buryport, Wales on 18th June 1928. Here you can see Earhart looking out of the cabin door. What an amazing feeling this must have been for her and for the rest of the crew. In this photo, you can see Amelia Earhart and her crew coming ashore at Buryport. Looks like the whole town has gathered to welcome the crew. By the way, did you know that when the crew landed at Buryport, reporters were much more interested in her than either of the pilots who actually flew the plane? After her June 1928 transatlantic flight with Wilma Stulz and Louis Gordon, in which she became the first woman to fly the Atlantic, Amelia Earhart was given a hero's welcome wherever she went. In this photo, you can see a large crowd greeting Amelia Earhart at Southampton on June 19, 1928. Here, in this photo, you can see an article in the New York Times about Amelia's maiden flight across the Atlantic Ocean. I will give you a few seconds to read the headline. Amelia Earhart married her publisher George Putnam on 7 February 1931. According to one paper, George proposed to her 6 times before she finally agreed to marry him. Interestingly, when Amelia first met Putnam for an interview, she found him rude and impolite. Putnam was married at the time the interview happened, but in the months that followed, as they spent more time together, they developed a fondness for each other and eventually had an affair. Putnam later divorced his wife and started pursuing Amelia. In her prenup for Putnam, she mentioned 3 things that are very interesting. First, that she would not be faithful. Second, that she would not quit flying. And third, that they would go their separate ways after a year if they are not happy together. Now, we will be moving on to yet another record that Amelia set. On 8 April 1931, Amelia Earhart flew an autogyro to an altitude of 18,415 feet. With this, she became the first woman to fly an autogyro and set a new altitude record. On the right, you can see what an autogyro looks like. The propeller that you see here helps in forward motion, and the unmotorized rotor that you see here helps in lift. That is, it helps the autogyro to fly up. On the left, you can see Amelia with her husband George Putnam. On May 20, 1932, Amelia embarked upon her solo transatlantic flight from New Jersey Airport. She flew via Harbour Grace, Newfoundland, headed towards France. On her way to France, she faced a number of issues like a faulty altimeter, rain, ice, and controls that froze, which caused her tiny plane to go into a spin. You name a problem and she faced it. Though she was headed for France, a fire in the exhaust manifold and a leaky gas tank forced her to land on a farm outside Londonderry, Ireland. She flew a red Lockheed Vega 5B and completed her flight in 14 hours and 56 minutes. With the completion of this flight, she became the first woman and the second person after Charles Lindbergh to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. It is one thing to think about flying solo across an ocean, but to go ahead and do it is truly outstanding. On the left, you can see Amelia Earhart after her landing in Londonderry, Ireland. On the right, you can see a complete picture of a Lockheed Vega 5B. Here in this map, you can see from where Amelia took off and landed in her historic solo flight. The left marker that you see here is Harbour Grace in Canada, and the right marker shows Northern Ireland. In the south, you can see France, where she had planned to land, but when she realized she was on a course far north of France, she navigated to Northern Ireland. On 24 August 1932, Amelia left Los Angeles Municipal Airport, and after flying all night, she reached Newark Municipal Airport around 11:30 a.m. on 25 August. She covered a distance of 2,450 miles in record time of 19 hours and 5 minutes. With the completion of this flight, she set yet another record and became the first woman to fly non-stop coast-to-coast across the continental United States. In the picture here, you can see Amelia surrounded by reporters and admirers after she arrived at the Newark Municipal Airport. By the way, if any of you is a current pilot or an aspiring one, please do mention it in the comment section or in my Facebook group. I would love to hear from you. Amelia Earhart was so much more than just an aviator setting records. When she was not in flight, she spent a lot of time encouraging women through her writings and lectures. In a 1935 radio broadcast on a woman's place in science, she encouraged women to make their mark in the new field of aviation. In 1929, Amelia helped found the 99s, an international organization of female aviators. It was called 99s because it was established by 99 women pilots. Today, this organization promotes the advancement of aviation through education, scholarships, and mutual support. In late 1933, she introduced her own fashion line called Amelia Fashions, and her designs were sold around 30 department stores nationwide. Not only did she design, but she also modeled her own designs. Despite her hard work in establishing the line, Amelia Earhart Fashions was a flop. Though there was one silver lining in all of this, which was that in 1934, Amelia Earhart was recognized as one of the 10 best-dressed women in America. This is a photo from Woman's Home Companion magazine for August 1934. Here you can see a two-piece dress designed by Amelia Earhart. The garments, with simple lines and mid-range prices, were inspired by Earhart's interest in functional clothing for active living. On Jan 11-12, 1935, Amelia became the first person to fly solo over the Pacific Ocean from Honolulu, Hawaii to Oakland, California, covering a distance of 2,408 miles. It was close to an 18-hour flight, and this was an amazing achievement because 10 flyers before her had died trying to fly this route. For this trip, she chose one of the most advanced aircraft of her time, which was the Lockheed Electra 10E, but just getting the most advanced aircraft was not enough. Amelia made modifications to this aircraft that included 6 extra fuel tanks in place of seats, a radio direction finder which I'll show you soon, and special windows for the navigator. On May 21, 1937, Amelia Earhart embarked upon a world journey with her navigator, Fred Noonan, in a Lockheed Electra. She took off from Oakland, California, flying east. Her plan was to fly around the world at the equator, and she was determined to be the first pilot in the world to achieve this feat. By the way, this was her second attempt. Her first attempt was flying west, but the plane got damaged in Hawaii during takeoff when the forward landing gear collapsed. I will show you a photo of this in a minute. Though Earhart's flight started from Oakland, California, it was only in Miami, Florida that she publicly announced her plans to fly around the world. On 1st June 1937, Amelia and Fred departed Miami, and after several stopovers that included South America, Africa, the Indian subcontinent, Southeast Asia, the two reached Lae in New Guinea on 29th June 1937. By this time, Amelia Earhart and Noonan had covered a distance of roughly 22,000 miles. One can only imagine how much fatigue had set in by then. The remainder of the journey, which was around 7,456 miles, would be over the Pacific Ocean. In a few minutes, I'll show you the route that Amelia flew. In this photo, you can see the Lockheed Electra that she flew in her final journey. This is the photo of the damaged plane in Amelia's first attempt. You can clearly see here that the plane is sitting on its belly because the forward landing gear has collapsed. And here is the radio direction finder, which was added as one of the modifications requested by Amelia. On 2nd of July 1937, Amelia and Fred took off from Lae Airfield. Their next destination was a tiny island called Howland Island that was just 1.23 miles long and 0.3 miles wide. When she got close to the island, she radioed Itasca, a United States Coast Guard patrol boat that was sailing off the Howland's coast. Here, I quote one of her radio communications with the Itasca. "We must be on you, but cannot see you. Gas is running low. Been unable to reach you by radio. We are flying at 1,000 feet." About an hour later, Amelia Earhart transmitted, "We are running north and south." This was the last message received by Itasca. On the left, you can see Amelia and Noonan by the Lockheed L-10 Electra at Darwin, Australia on 28 June 1937. On the right, you can see a photo of the US CGC Itasca, which was in radio contact with Amelia. An extensive search was launched to look for Earhart and Noonan. The air and sea search was conducted by the US Coast Guard and the Navy, but despite all their efforts, no trace of Earhart, Noonan, or the plane was found. On 19 June 1937, after 16 days, the search operations were finally called off. The search came at a cost of $4 million, which was the most costly and intensive search in the US history at the time. Earhart's mysterious disappearance engendered numerous theories and claims, but most experts believe that Amelia's plane crashed near the Howland Island after running out of fuel. Here you can see a photo in the New York Daily News article on Earhart's lost plane at sea. Okay, so here I've traced the route that Amelia flew to circumnavigate the world. Here in Oakland is where Amelia's heroic flight began on May 20th, 1937. From there, she flew to South America that you see here, and from there across the Atlantic Ocean to the African continent. According to some reports, this was a rainy flight with poor nighttime visibility. Next, via India, Southeast Asia, and Australia, she and Noonan reached Lae, New Guinea on 29th June 1937. They left Lae, you can see it here, on 2nd July 1937, and this is Howland Island where they were supposed to land but never did. This here is what would have been Amelia's last leg, which sadly never happened. After Amelia's solo flight across the Atlantic, President Hoover presented her with the National Geographic Society's Special Gold Medal, and this was historic because Amelia became the first woman to be given this medal. Authorized by Act of Congress, the President of the United States awarded Amelia with the Distinguished Flying Cross in 1932. This award was given to her for her heroic courage and skill as a navigator, risking her life for her non-stop flight from Harbour Grace, Newfoundland to Londonderry, Ireland. In addition to these, she also received the Legion of Honor, which is the highest French order of merit, and the Harmon Trophy for being an outstanding airwoman. In this photo here, you can see President Hoover honoring Amelia Earhart with the Special Gold Medal. Let's talk a little bit about the legacy that Amelia Earhart left behind. She was a feminist icon who successfully broke into non-traditional male-dominated career. A woman who was independent, immensely brave, successful, and inspired a generation of women pilots. The thing that really makes her great though is that not only did she go on to achieve great things in her life, but she also encouraged and motivated young women to follow their own dreams, be fearless, and fight against inequalities and social barriers. Here is a quote from her that I truly love. "Women, like men, should try to do the impossible. And when they fail, their failure should be a challenge to others." I say that her life story, her grit, her determination, her fearlessness should inspire one and all, irrespective of your gender. With that, it's an end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and got to learn a few new things. Please feel free to like my video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for listening in, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.